All right. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Glenn Stein Realty Executives here in the Villages. And obviously, we handle real estate and property management. We do rentals. And we have an office in Ocala. We have an office in the Villages on 466. And we've got satellite offices in Wildwood and a future one that's coming up all the way down in Coleman. But Coleman is literally 5 minutes away from the newer areas of the villages south of 44 and south of the turnpike. So we're going to be talking about stats today. We're going to be talking about kind of an informal poll that we did in talking to our realtors and talking to their buyers and what they liked about the villages and some of the pluses of why people moved here. We're going to cover that today. Something interesting happened this week, which is we've seen kind of like a bounce up and down. I think if I had to talk about the market, we've seen over the last couple of years, like takeoffs and just like then quick drops and then adjustments and then lots of this. It's like we're bouncing, we're doing this, right? Like, and not quite that dramatic, but it seems to be more like this. And what I mean is that, and what I'm showing you right here is you're looking at 36 new listings in the last 7 days. We've seen 42 price decreases. We've seen 12 come back on the market. 26 have sold, closed, 4 expired, which is kind of typical. I'm expecting this maybe to grow a little bit, this expired listing number in the future. 20 pending. Now, if you've been watching the show, you know that over the last several weeks, we've seen this number, this new listing number has been actually a little bit less than the pending number. But the last 7 days number, we've hit a little bit of a lull. Doesn't surprise me a lot. I think 20, it's 20 under contract in 7 days is pretty light. That's a really low number. And probably if you looked at the last 2 years, that's going to be one of the lowest numbers we've seen. Probably the lowest we've seen, I think, was probably over 1 or 2 weeks in the last several months, but more specifically, really low numbers, when we were like in the COVID lockdown months, like April, May, June, more April, May. So low number here. We'll be paying attention to that, but you're seeing a 16 listing discrepancy, and as a result, we jumped up from like 207, 208 to now I think we're about 223 properties on the market. So that's probably the big news, like a pretty significant jump in 1 week of increased number of listings. And of course, that's a plus for people that are actually looking, more of a selection on the marketplace. A little bit of an adjustment in average sales price, a little bit of an adjustment in what you can get a particular home for. We're seeing some price reductions and some pretty decent deals on golf course frontage homes. Those homes that are actually, maybe they were well over 500 in the 600 range. Now we're seeing some in the lower 500s and upper fours, which is, I think, really, I feel like really good values. And what's happening is people are jumping on those opportunities once they get to a point where the buyers feel like it's a pretty darn good value. A couple of housekeeping things, by the way. We are doing for the month of September, if you go to one of our open houses in the villages, we're obviously advertising many of those in the Daily Sun, the locations there. But if you go to one of our open houses, you do have a chance to win $1,000 registration to win $1,000 in the month of September. That will be all the way up until the end of the month, September 30th. So do that. You'll have that opportunity. And also a reminder that on November 12th, we are doing something, we're having a masquerade ball, which should be a ball. We should have a real blast. It should be a lot of fun. So I can't remember the last time I've seen somebody do something like this. And we're putting on, Realty Executives is putting on a masquerade ball to benefit Alzheimer's. And it's one of those diseases that has impacted our community for many, many years. And it's been close to my heart to assist in the fight of Alzheimer's. So that's going to happen November 12th. If you do want more information on that, if you want more info, you can call 352-255-5890, 255-5890. if you would like to participate in the event, you'd like to donate, whatever that may be, that would be good. Also, I want to give a shout out to another cause that we're actually have been a part of for many years, and we're going to do something with St. Jude's. Right, they're having a golf tournament as well. So that's coming up beginning of October, golf tournament and an auction. So that's what's going on there. But let's talk about what I discovered. I spoke to and communicated with many of our agents, and I wanted to figure out, what's so special about the villages? Like, I have a feeling about that, but sometimes something like this is a pretty neat place to live, but sometimes you want to find out, what are other people thinking? Why do people move here? What's special to them? What's important to them? And I've got a list of 8 or 9 things here where people enjoy the neighbors, right? And some people might be a little bit cynical about it, and maybe they don't like neighbors. There's people that just don't like people. That could be a thing too. But if you like people, you want to be around people. I think it's a really good community to be a part of. There's well over 2,000 different activities to be a part of that I think you can find something to do. You certainly shouldn't be bored here in the villages. So that's a thing for sure. And what I've discovered is many people feel that before they retired, they can only have a handful of friends, and they didn't have a lot of time to connect with people because they were working and busy making their livings. And then once they retire, they've made some of the best bonds and best friendships being around people that they enjoy and actually have more time to socialize with because they're now retired. Entertainment was one of those things that people really talked about, that they said, what, I think the entertainment here is really good. And so that was one of those things. So, being at the squares was another one, just having that access to, music, dancing, and fun. Easy access to some of the bigger cities. Orlando, literally from the southern end of the village, is about 40 minutes away. Orlando is from the southern end of the village, is right off the turnpike. From the middle of the village is probably more like an hour and 15, but still within driving distance. Tampa is probably about the same, right down I-75, and also access to both coasts, both the Atlantic side on the east and the Gulf side on the west. Depending on what your flavor is, it's completely different, but different perspectives there. No hurricanes was one of the things that somebody said. And of course, we do get hurricanes here, but they've done surveys on this in the past. And because we're inland, we're right in the middle of the state, about an hour to each coast, we're buffered. So, typically most people, category 5 would hit the coast and come straight this way. We might get a category 1, a category 2, and they, based on past research with the sheriff's office, they wouldn't evacuate this part of Florida. In fact, many people actually come to this part from South Florida to actually stay if a hurricane does come this way. Manicured land and common area, so it's also very pretty. So when you go through the roundabouts, which not everybody loves, I'd like to hear some comments about the roundabouts. Do you like the roundabouts, or you don't like the roundabouts? But also really curious to know, what are some of the things that you enjoy about the villages? If you live here, what are your favorite things? I think that'd be helpful, because we get a lot of people that are thinking about moving here. Maybe some people that are like just on the fence. So, chime in for, in the chat section, put in, what you like about the villages. What are some things that you really enjoy that you think are positives, especially if we haven't mentioned it? Or if you want to chime in and just concur with what I'm talking about. Some people are very big into softball, and pickleball is a big thing here. And of course, golf. A lot of people were talking about that. The people, we got a response from a few people that said they really enjoy the people here. Affordable lifestyle, even though the prices have gone up. Prices have gone up everywhere, by the way. I don't know, I can't think of a marketplace anywhere in the country where the prices went down over the last 3 years. So the prices have gone up. They leveled off, maybe a little bit of a price reduction in certain cases, but people still feel like it's a pretty good value. And then, I think the overall package of, togetherness and, the ability to connect with people was probably one of the biggest things. So, connections with people, neighbors, entertainment, easy access to the bigger cities if you want to, and of course, major airports. Hurricane relative protection, being in between, in between the coasts. The prettiness and the way things are taken care of was one thing that was mentioned. Of course, the activities like pickleball, softball, golf, and affordable lifestyle. So those are probably, if we're doing like a Family Feud style game, that would be the top 7 or 8 answers of what people mentioned. So recap, stats, more inventory this week, about 16 to 17 more homes on the market, and a little bit of a pullback on demand this week. So we're going to pay attention to that, see if that's a trend one way or the other. And then, of course, register a win for our $1,000 giveaway at an open house. You have to go to an open house. And then, of course, our Alzheimer's Masquerade Ball, November 12th. And that number is 352-255-5890. I hope everybody has an absolutely fabulous weekend. Take care.